Book 8, MINA'S New Journey. A few weeks had passed since everything happened with Raven. School finally felt calmer again. The heavy tension that had once filled the hallways slowly faded away, replaced by laughter, music, and normal conversations. At lunch one afternoon, Svetlana proudly crossed her arms after making a sarcastic joke. "Oh, wow," she said dramatically after Jake dropped spaghetti onto his shoes. "That was very graceful." Jake stared at the mess around his feet. "Hey, I almost stuck the landing," he argued. The entire table burst into laughter. Svetlana smiled proudly. "See? I am sarcasm master now." "You're getting way too good at it," Liam warned jokingly. Mina smiled while watching her friends. Things finally felt peaceful again. But deep inside, her thoughts still kept returning to Raven. One afternoon after school, Mina noticed Raven sitting alone near the quiet garden behind the building. She looked completely different than before. The heavy makeup was gone. Her dark clothes had been replaced with a soft gray hoodie and simple jeans. Her hair was also pulled back into a ponytail. For once, Raven did not look angry at the world. She just looked tired. Mina walked over carefully. "Hey," she said softly. Raven glanced up in surprise. "Oh, hey, what's up?" Mina sat beside her quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mina finally took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you." Raven raised an eyebrow. Mina's heart pounded nervously. "I was the one who called the police about your mom." "I am sorry," she admitted quickly. The words came spilling out all at once. Mina explained everything. The yelling, the fear, the video, and how guilty she had felt ever since. She expected Raven to explode with anger. Instead, Raven looked down quietly at the dirt beneath her shoes. Then she sighed. "Honestly," Raven said softly, "it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me." Mina blinked in surprise. Raven picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. "My mom grew up in a bad house too," she explained quietly. "Her parents drank all the time and they were very mean. Then she became the same way." Raven swallowed hard before continuing. "I was always scared I'd grow up just like her." Mina listened carefully. "But now," Raven continued, "maybe I actually have a chance to break the cycle." That phrase stayed in Mina's mind. Break the cycle. Becoming a shiny new link in an old rusty chain, it meant stopping harmful patterns before they continued into the future. "It's still hard," Raven admitted. "Foster care isn't easy, but it's quieter there. I can actually think now." "So, you don't hate me?" Mina asked nervously. Raven shook her head. "No, none of this was your fault." For the first time, Mina truly understood something important. Sometimes people build walls around themselves because they are hurting inside. That conversation stayed in Mina's thoughts for days. As her music channel continued growing, she found herself thinking more and more about her own life story, especially her adoption. One rainy evening, Mina sat in her room strumming her guitar softly while staring at an old photograph of herself as a little girl shortly after arriving from Korea. Questions swirled through her mind. Who was her birth mother? Why had she given Mina away? Did she ever think about her? Mina had spent years trying to ignore those questions, but now they felt impossible to push away. Raven's story had changed something inside her. If Raven could search for healing and understanding, maybe Mina could too. Maybe understanding her past would help her understand herself. That evening, Mina found her parents sitting quietly in the living room. "Mom? Dad?" she asked softly. "Can we talk?" Sarah immediately noticed the seriousness in Mina's voice. "Of course, sweetie," her mom replied gently. David looked up from his book with concern. Mina took a deep breath. "It's about my birth family," she whispered. The room suddenly became very quiet. David's expression changed instantly again. He was hoping that Mina would change her mind. A heavy sadness settled across his face. "Mina," he said carefully, "you know we love you more than anything, right?" "I know," Mina answered quickly. "This isn't about replacing you." David rubbed his forehead slowly. "I just don't want you getting hurt," he admitted. "We don't know what happened back then. We don't know what kind of people they are now." His voice sounded tight and emotional. Mina could tell the conversation weighed heavily on his heart. Sarah gently squeezed David's hand. "She has every right to ask questions," Sarah said softly. "It's part of her story." David sighed deeply. The entire situation felt like a weight resting on his shoulders. "I know," he admitted quietly. "I just wish I could protect her from everything." Mina moved closer to him. "You are protecting me," she said gently. "You and Mom gave me an amazing life. I need to piece things together, like a puzzle. All the pieces have not been flipped over yet." That idiom meant trying to slowly understand something by collecting information. Sarah smiled warmly. "Then we'll help you," she promised. After a long silence, David finally nodded. "Okay," he said softly. "We'll do this together." Relief washed over Mina like warm sunlight after a storm. The next week, Sarah contacted the adoption agency and scheduled a meeting. Unfortunately, the appointment was still over a week away. To Mina, the wait felt endless. "You know," Sarah said one evening, "there's still time to change your mind." Mina shook her head immediately. "No," she said firmly. "I need to know." Even though nervousness fluttered inside her chest, something deeper pushed her forward. Hope. Meanwhile, Mina's music channel continued growing faster than ever. More people discovered Chloe's memorial song online. Thousands of comments poured in from listeners around the world. "This song helped me through a hard day. I cried listening to this. Your music feels honest." At school, students whispered about Mina's channel in the hallways. Jake nearly ran into a locker one morning while staring at his phone. "Mina," he shouted excitedly, "one of your videos hit 50,000 views." Mina nearly dropped her books. "Seriously?" Jake nodded wildly. "You're blowing up." Mina smiled joyfully. Meanwhile, she could see that Svetlana getting very nervous. "Don't blow up, Mina. That could be very dangerous," she said, trying to protect Mina. Some of the time, she was still taking things too literally. Mina was flabbergasted. Part of her still could not believe people connected so strongly with her music, but another part of her finally understood something important. Her voice mattered. A few days later, Mina and her parents sat together at the adoption agency office. Mina's stomach felt tied in two knots. A kind woman explained that contacting birth families could sometimes be complicated. Some people were ready to reconnect, others were not. Mina listened carefully while nervously twisting her sleeve between her fingers. Finally, the agency managed to contact Mina's birth family in Korea, but the response was not what Mina expected. Her birth father refused to speak. The words hit Mina like a gut punch. "He doesn't want contact?" she asked quietly. The woman nodded gently. He may still be carrying difficult emotions, she explained carefully. Mina stared at the floor silently. For a moment, her chest hurt so badly she could barely breathe. But then the woman smiled softly. There is someone else willing to talk to you, she said. Your grandmother. Your mother still needs some time to warm up to the idea. Mina looked up in surprise. A few days later, Mina sat nervously beside Sarah in front of a laptop screen. Her hands trembled. Then the video call connected. An older Korean woman appeared on the screen with silver streaks in her hair and warm, emotional eyes. The woman gasped softly the moment she saw Mina. Tears instantly filled her eyes. Mina, she whispered in Korean. Mina felt frozen with emotion. Her grandmother began speaking quickly through a translator from the agency. She explained how she had always wondered what happened to Mina. She apologized repeatedly for the pain and confusion surrounding the adoption. Mina's eyes filled with tears, too. Then her grandmother held up an old photograph. It showed Mina's birth mother smiling while holding baby Mina in her arms. For a moment, Mina could not speak at all. It felt like looking into a missing piece of herself. After the call ended, Mina sat quietly for a long time. David finally sat beside her. I'm sorry, he said softly. I know this wasn't the Hollywood ending you hoped for. Mina leaned gently against his shoulder. I think I understand now, she whispered. Understand what? That healing is a long road. That idiom meant something difficult that takes a long time to complete. David wrapped an arm around her. But at least, Mina continued softly, I finally took the first step. David smiled sadly. And you don't have to walk that road alone. Over the next few weeks, Mina continued talking to her grandmother online. Slowly, she learned small pieces about her birth family, her culture, and her past. Not every answer was easy. Some truths hurt. Some questions still remained. But Mina no longer felt lost. One evening, she sat in her room with her guitar resting across her lap. She quietly played the unfinished melody she had been working on for weeks. A song about identity, about pain, about healing, about family, about searching for answers even when the journey feels uncertain. She decided to call the song Echo because her past no longer felt like an empty silence. Now it felt like a distant voice, slowly finding its way back to her. As the melody filled the room, Mina smiled softly. Her journey was far from over. In many ways, it was only just beginning.
I used to think I was a mirror of every word they said to me. Every fear and every whisper was writing who I'd grow to be. All the pressure, expectations, all the voices in my head, every failure, every question, every road I thought I'd dread. I was carrying their stories like they were mine to hold, like my future had been written by the chapters I was told. But a voice inside is calling, saying I can choose my way. I am more than just a shadow of the yesterdays. I'm not just an echo of everything I've known. I'm not just a reflection of a life that's been shown. I can choose my direction, I can rewrite the sound, I can take what shaped me without being held down. I'm not just an echo, repeating what I've heard. I can find my own voice, I can speak my own words. I can honor the past without living below. just an echo. I'm choosing who I become.